I don't know what to think of what this video could be. I know that it sounds like it's creepy as fuck.
The thumbnail looks creepy as fuck.
The thumbnail looks creepy. It's called, Are You Scared of the Face in Your Window?
I honestly at first was kind of avoiding it because I didn't want to get spooked, but our pal Gwen has recommended it many times, so I guess we're gonna go with it. And
this is The Watcher, by the way, a channel that we've never reacted to before, so I don't really know what to expect.
I have no
but
idea.
We trust Gwen. I'm sure it's gonna be good in one way or another. But here we fucking go. Are you ready?
All right, let's go.
Let's do it.
This video contains content that some might find disturbing.
Uh-oh.
Viewer discretion is advised.
I get disturbed.
When you try to sleep, do you ever stare at the windows in your bedroom?
Gwen, what are you
During the
doing
day,
to us?
These windows filled with sunshine can provide a pleasant glimpse to the outside world. At night, however, these windows can provide a vacant doorway, waiting to be filled by the horrific possibilities that await in the darkness.
Gwen!
You fear that if you close your eyes, even just for a second, when you open them, your once empty window will now be filled with a face staring back at you.
Blinds,
For our
curtains.
narrator, that paranoia becomes a reality.
Are you scared?
I'm Ryan Bergara, and this is Are You Scared? A show where I tell my friend Shane Madej the internet's scariest stories that may or may not be true. Now, I have not read this story before, and neither has Shane. So lock your doors, turn off the lights, and let's see if we can make it until the end. The Red Man.
I love Wu-Tang. Red Man's a good addition.
There was a man who watched me sleep. He had big eyes that seemed to protrude out of his eye sockets. He had rotting red skin, like it was soaked in blood and then caramelized.
Wait.
Already?
This is the beginning of the story?
I'm just reading what's on the screen, and this one happened to get off to a rollicking start. I don't know what you
Really
want from
going
me.
for it. Just 0 to 60.
If that's what you want for a season premiere. You don't want to come back, with the snickle fritz. You want to come back with the good stuff. I first saw him when I was 7. I was having a hard time sleeping that night, but I kept my eyes shut. The wind was cold. I could feel it creeping on my skin. It was laundry day, and Mom didn't have a spare blanket. The window made a faint thumping noise whenever the wind blew.
Did you sleep with no blanket?
I should have closed it properly.
I'm grabbing a jacket or something.
But it's fine. The broken street light outside made a constant buzzing noise I really liked. I need to sleep. I could faintly hear the television from the living room. Mom probably fell asleep on the couch again. I really need to sleep.
Me every
I was a
night.
light sleeper. Anything could wake me up. I guess even the absence of the thumping. The wind wasn't howling against the window anymore. Maybe Mom closed the window as I slept. I rubbed my eyes and shifted to my other side when I noticed a shadow on my wall. There he was, smiling. He was the oddest thing I ever set my eyes on. I remember my hands shaking. I waited for him to enter my room and hurt me, but he didn't.
You
He
waited?
didn't move at all. His eyes didn't blink, not once. I waited for him to speak, but he never made a sound. I remember feeling frightened. I don't remember how I fell asleep again.
Me
There
neither.
was a man who watched me sleep. He had
No.
a weird set of teeth. It was as if each tooth belonged in somebody else's mouth.
He does sound like he respects boundaries.
What?
No.
How is
No.
watching somebody in their
No.
sleep in their own room respecting boundaries of any kind?
Demons, they hang out in rooms and churches, whatever, bridges, etc. So it sounds like these guys are just chilling, and the person was waiting for him to come in and I don't know, whatever they do, nothing. And he was just chilling. He was sort of like,
Yeah.
tip of the hat, milady. I'm just gonna hang out over here. You go back to sleep. Everything's fine.
Just gonna
Don't worry
watch you.
about me. Not blinking, not blinking.
Yeah, I mean, they could do nothing, or I guess they could always possess that person and
I didn't
condemn
think
their
of it
soul
as
to
a
hell
demon,
forever.
though.
But
Yeah,
That's probably
that's
just
true.
saw
options.
some collectible sitting there next to
His
the bed.
eyes were
Funko
more
Pop.
bulged the
I
second
need
time I
that
saw him.
Funko Pop
He
so
almost
bad.
looked like a different
Yeah.
person. I was 9 that time. Mom made me stop going to school. She never told me why, but I could sense that I made
Mama
people
made me.
feel uneasy. My classmates rarely talked to me, but when they did, they would keep their distance. They didn't want me there. I got used to it. I didn't care. This just seems like a sad aside from what's going on in their bedroom. Do the kids at school know that the red man is in her bedroom? Or is she just like lamenting like, school also sucked at the time?
You know, if you're a parent and you're concerned that your child is maybe not socializing well in school,
Just don't make them
your go-to plan is to
Keep
take
them
them
home.
out of school. You know what helps a kid be better at socializing?
Socializing.
Locking them in their room with the red
locking
man.
them in a room.
Mom hired a teacher who came to our house every weekday. His name was Dr. Fleece. I liked him. He would
Fleece
always
Johnson.
look at me in the eye when he listened to my stories.
I don't trust him.
He liked to hear about the red man most. One afternoon, after my class with Dr. Fleece, Mom called and told me I was going to stay over at my cousin's place. My cousin's name was Ida. She was 2 years older than me. She was the only person I considered my friend. I quickly packed my things and Mom drove me to her house.
Maybe you should just
Ida's
stay
bed
there.
faced the window
Maybe.
just like mine.
I'd like, before we get too deep into this little slumber party, I'd like to point out it's weird that Dr. Fleece likes to hear the stories about the red man. I'm just gonna put that out there. It's weird.
Oh, the red man, I always love hearing about him.
Caramelized, you say?
Protruding eyes, huh? Tell me more about his peepers. I might be turning the corner here on Dr. Fleece.
I'll say
Yeah.
it. Dr. Fleece, I like him.
If this is a
No.
true story at the end, the first thing I'm doing is looking up Dr. Fleece and where he practices.
No.
It was around 11 when Ida fell
No.
You
asleep.
don't like it?
Red flag.
She spent hours talking about her school life, her friends, and the boy she liked. I pretended to understand and made up stories of my own. Mom didn't like it when I told our relatives that I was homeschooled. It was quiet
But
in
you
Ida's
are.
neighborhood. It wasn't windy that night. There was no broken street light, and her mom turned off the television around 9:30. I could only hear the constant ringing when everything is quiet, and the faint tick of Ida's wristwatch.
Same.
My body stiffened. I was falling asleep.
I used to really like it when my parents would have the TV on late at night.
I always felt like there was something watching me in my bedroom when I was sleeping when I was a child.
I had one very specific memory. I think I was like 7 or 8 or something, and I heard a noise in my room, and from the foot of my bed, as clear as a bell, I just heard like a laugh, like a, you know, like
What
like
the
a
Like an old
fuck?
witch?
like a cartoonish laugh. And I remember being like, Jesus Christ, you know? And I think I got my parents, I woke up, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I heard a laugh in my room.
I don't know
The
why.
underpants gnomes.
But when I
dude.
picture
Profit.
6 to 8 year old Shane, I picture you
Yeah.
walking into your parents' room and saying it just like that. Like, hey guys, I'm pretty sure there's a laugh in my room. I don't know what to think of it. When
Yeah.
any normal 6 to 8 year old would scream immediately, probably start crying.
I couldn't explain it. I was like, I don't know what's going on there. I assume it was a nightmare.
Or maybe from that moment on you were marked, and maybe that's why
Bum, bum,
nothing seems to affect you now. I don't know. Ida's arm on my face woke me up. I immediately saw the silhouette by the window. He was here again. His smile was even wider now. I could easily see how dark and dirty his gums were. My chest throbbed. I was unsure if it was fear or excitement. I can't remember how I fell asleep again,
Like
but when I opened my
adrenaline?
eyes, it was morning. The red man
How
was
are
gone.
you just gonna go back
I
to sleep?
enthusiastically told Dr. Fleece the same morning. He listened intently. I told him how the red man got thinner and how impossible it is that his eyes were still intact. He asked me if I was afraid. I remember nodding and then doubting my answer. God damn it, dude. Keep it together, man.
I gotta say, he really lost some weight, but I don't know how his eyes haven't dissolved yet.
I'm worried about his diet. I gotta tell you.
Gotta eat more kids.
This guy's got to get his kid count up and carbs. There was a man who watched me sleep. I know because I watch him back.
What?
The red man never blinks or moves. He was just there. staring with his mouth wide open in a cheek-splitting grin. Dr. Fleece made a bad decision that day. After our class, he told Mom about the Red Man. Since then, he hasn't come back to teach me.
She
I
knows.
waited for him.
She
He was my
is
favorite
the Red
teacher,
Man.
but he never came back. Maybe I scared him away. I do that to people. One evening, Mom decided to sleep in my room. I was reading one of the books Dr. Fleece gave me when she entered. It was the first time I'd seen her that way. She was scared of me too. After dinner, I did my chores and went to bed. Mom was already there. She brought her own blanket and pillow. She was skimming through the books Dr. Fleece left for me. I sat beside her. Since then, Mom has slept in my room. I only knew that I had fallen asleep when I woke up in the middle of the night. The Red Man was there again,
Maybe she
watching me. His eyes were glued to my face. But he wasn't smiling tonight. I wonder why. He seemed different again. I was 11 this time, and I didn't feel scared anymore. I was used to him. The Red Man's company was nice. Since the fear of him faded, I always get to sleep well at night. He made me feel safe. There was a man who watched me sleep. He never moves or blinks. He just stares at me. 2 years passed without seeing him, but I could always feel someone was watching over me. Mom still slept beside me, but I didn't mind. The Red Man watched over her too. It was nice to have company in the darkness.
I do like, though, how Red Man is becoming sort of a father
Family,
figure
yeah.
now, though, you know?
Yeah.
I will say that a lot of times these entities will make the people that they're targeting feel comfortable so
Yeah.
that they could get them when their guard is down. So I'm wondering if that's where this is going.
Wouldn't they start out that way, though? Because it sounded like Red Man came in really hot.
Creepy,
And was
yeah.
like, I'm going to scare this little kid. And then the little kid was like, hey, man, what's going on? How you been? And Red Man was like,
Oh, okay.
wow,
Yeah.
finally someone sees me for, the
Who I am.
the demon, the nice person that I am.
The demon-
who looks
the
past
nice
my
person.
rotten teeth and my dissolving eyeballs.
One night, I woke up feeling thirsty. I looked at the window first, and I felt a sense of disappointment when I found no friend there. I quietly left my room and walked down the dark hallway.
This kid is
My
all
eyes
fucked
adjusted
up.
quickly, and I found my way to the kitchen. I opened the refrigerator and took out the pitcher of water. I poured cold water into the glass. I saw the clock as the light from the fridge faded. It was midnight. A smirk appeared on my face as I walked back to the bedroom. Before I got there, a piercing scream startled me.
Mama.
The glass slipped from my hand and shattered on the floor. I ran back to the room. Panting, I opened the door and saw Mom standing behind the bed. She was trembling, her eyes
saw him.
fixed on my window. The Red Man was there, bloodier than ever. He was smiling this time. The Red Man, he resembled Dr. Fleece. He had the same rotting skin, but he had Dr. Fleece's eyes. I know because of the way he looked at me. Mom kept screaming, asking our neighbors to call the police. I tried to keep her calm, assuring her that the Red Man won't harm us, but she was frantic. She called the police and left me in the room with him.
What? She's a terrible
Didn't
mother.
expect every man for themselves from the mom.
I'm going to call the police. You stay here with the Red.
I'm sorry, I murmured, feeling embarrassed by how my mom was reacting. The Red Man didn't respond, just smiled.
I don't
After
look like
calling
a
the
smile.
police, my mom dragged me out of the room. I peeked into my room and he was still there. Mom hugged me and brushed my hair with her hand. She told me everything was going to be okay. I didn't understand why she was trying to comfort me. There was no need to. The police arrived minutes later. I watched them examine the Red Man from behind my bed. Mom was busy talking to them, so I snuck in. A cop with gloves placed his palms by the Red Man's head. My eyes grew wide. I was about to stop him when Mom ran back into the room. She pulled me away and tried to cover my eyes, but it was too late. The police pulled out the Red Man's head. A head from a makeshift pole outside my window. Turns out my friend was a severed head. 4 severed heads. They were the ones who watched me while I slept.
Are these real heads, though?
It says the person that was looking through the window was in actual severed heads. Oh my God, that makes sense now because that's why the skin was all gross. That's why the teeth were rotting. Oh my God.
So Dr. Fleece is not the Red Man. He is a victim of the Red Man.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I gotta say, rip Dr. Fleece.
Look, let's just hold out hope for our guy, Dr.
I
Fleece.
feel bad about being
And apologize because we doubted him.
Yeah,
that was
same.
rude.
Yeah.
That was rude. The policeman said they had had similar reports in the area since 2006. It wasn't only me. One kid who was 3 years younger than me had been saying the same thing. He had had his own Red Man, but his mom thought he was only imagining them. He disappeared just 2 weeks before. She was also a single mother. Mom broke down after that. We moved a week later. There wasn't a man who watched me sleep. It turned out I've been staring back at decapitated heads since I was a child. My friend doesn't exist. I'm 14 now. I barely think of the Red Men. I'm doing fine. New
Are
school. I also made a few friends. They started talking to me because they recognized me from the news. They would always want to hear about the Red Men.
Are
It
they
was
your
midnight
friends?
in our new house when I heard Mom turn off the television. I've been having a hard time falling asleep lately. My therapist said that I should try recalling my earliest memory. I've been thinking about it for a few days now, and it would always bring me back to when I was 5 or 6. I was in our old house, staring outside the window with my hand pressed on the glass. There were red and blue lights coming from outside. I remember feeling sad. A rattling outside stopped my train of thought. The hairs on my limbs started to rise from anticipation.
Dad.
I stared at the window waiting for... Yeah. Look, I'm like Ron Burgundy, baby, okay? I'm a professional. You put meow on the page, you're gonna get a meow from the Bergmeister.
But I want a really authentic meow, so please.
Here we go. I'll try it
usual
again.
amount of gravitas, but really sell that meow.
The hairs on my limbs started to rise from anticipation. I stared at the window, waiting for... Meow?
Nope,
I fluffed
no
my-
good.
Yeah.
Nope, one more. It's gotta be higher pitched.
Higher pitch.
I
Yeah,
want it
thought
to
so
sound
too.
like a
I
real
thought,
cat. I want to.
Look, just give me a second. I'm in my head.
Okay.
Okay, let me go one more. The hairs on my limbs started to rise from anticipation. I stared at the window, waiting for... Meow?
Yeah,
That
that's
was it.
better.
Better.
That was good.
Yes.
I felt good about that one.
That
Check
was
the gate.
really good.
Check the gate. Good gate? All right, let's move on. I fluffed my pillow and closed my eyes, disappointed. I dreamed of my earliest memory. It was still the same thing. It was my younger self staring at something outside my window with my palm pressed against the glass. But something new happened. When the red and blue lights completely faded, a large, masculine hand pressed against mine from the other side of the glass. It lingered there as I smiled. When the hand retracted, I was waving goodbye. A knock. I woke up abruptly when I felt something wet touch my toes. I flinched and sat on the bed. Why does my room smell like rust? When my eyes finally adjusted to the darkness, I saw a child's head on the foot of my bed. My sheets were already soaked.
Gwen!
The child
What are
was
you
smiling.
doing?
There were pins and threads poking out of his cheeks to keep it that way. It looked messy, so I started fixing him. There was a man who watched me sleep. He chopped up people's heads and placed them by my window. And now
Damn it,
he
Gwen.
entered my bedroom and placed a little boy's head on the foot of my bed. I should be scared right now, but I'm not. I've always liked the gifts. A hand knocks on the window. So, are you scared?
I am confused.
Okay, so now to the point where we
This
find out
is
if this
creepy
story
pasta. This
is
is
real
someone
or imagined.
just trying their best to write something scary.
It is imagined. The Red Man by Jason Morales is a fictional story submitted to our show. So
Yeah.
thank you to
Who would
Jason.
have heard of that?
Quite the yarn. A twisted mind on that person. Good on you, Jason.
Yeah, it definitely had me at the edge of my seat. Not so much that I was scared, but thoroughly entertained by all the funny little twists.
Most of the times with these stories, the twist is, oh, this was actually a true story, or this was actually false, and we kind of led you to believe that it was one or the other. The twist in this story was that it was set up as supernatural and ended up being more grounded. So yeah, I would say that I was scared.
Now that we know this is imagined, we could maybe ask him to write a follow-up where maybe Dr. Fleece origins. I love Dr. Fleece.
I'll tell you one thing. I don't think Dr. Fleece aspired to be on Aspire.
Oh, damn.
Yes. Yes.
I guess we'll see you next time.
Rip Dr. Fleece.
Good night.
Sweet dreams.
My first take on this is immediately I knew it was a creepypasta.
Yeah, no, I didn't think it was real.
But I mean, the first 2 or 3 lines, I'm like,
how it was written.
oh, they're all the same. It's all this, like, when you hear true accounts from people in these horrific circumstances, it's one of those situations where things like just kind of seem normal, and then it's like
fucked up.
Fucking not.
Yeah.
There's no, oh, this happened and then I kind of felt okay with it,
but
or
with
whatever.
Creepypastas, it's like bam, bam, bam.
Yeah, when you hear about like the dude who skipped school or whatever, and then his family were the first victims of BTK, it's like, I walked in the house, this happened, and my world changed.
Yeah.
Everything was normal, horrific incident, game over.
Yeah.
Kids aren't going to see something like that.
I grew
and not,
fond
like,
of sleeping and waking up to see this man.
There's
like, what
always,
the
and
fuck?
it's just like these creepypastas. It's this amateur writing style that you can just pinpoint from a mile away.
Yeah.
Whether it's like fan fiction of something, it's some kind of fucked up weird erotica. It's like these incredible scenarios are taking place, and these people involved in them are just like internal monologuing this shit. And it's just like, no, there's action that takes place that is going to be outside of, this is the perfect way things should fall into order. So like as soon as I heard, you know, what was it, you know, just these emotional explanations that are like internal thoughts, it's like this is made up.
Yeah.
This is made up.
But what a twist.
I do think the twist
What
was
a twist.
not, I couldn't telegraph what it actually was.
And I didn't have time to say it without interrupting. I kept being like, well, if she sleeps on the second story, how the fuck is he getting up there? Well,
now you know.
Well, maybe the stick was just really long.
Yeah.
Jesus.
This was the, Gwen said this was the first episode of the series that tells illustrated stories that end up being real or imagined, that explore a specific fear / scenario. As this is the premiere, they get better later on.
I don't think it was
and they
bad.
find their groove. No, I think that it was good. I think the sleepy pasta was written shitty. I think
sleepy pasta.
Excuse me. I think the twist was good.
The twist was good.
I think the entire idea was good.
Just the
I
how.
think, well, just the whole juvenile kind of, what do you call it? Angst.
Yeah.
The juvenile angst is always a sign of creepypasta. Always a sign of fan fiction. You could have changed this weird, gross murder horror scenario into, I was sitting at my desk in class. He walked into the room and my heart was racing out of my chest. I saw him in his new American Eagle jeans. He hadn't wore these to school before, and I've noticed every pair of jeans that he is. It's the same type of shit, and like that's when you know. It's like every single time. Internet historians stuff, you know, where he takes people's fan fictions and makes a whole animation out of it. This, like, it's all that same.
Draco Malfoy had MCR tickets on
Sleepy
Friday.
pasta, right? Jake, sleepy pasta. It's always like this internal dream, like, you know, fucking describing every single emotion. Like that's the emotion is the key descriptive element of all of it, and it's like.
I do really, well, I don't say I like the twist. I like how they wrote the twist.
It was inventive. It was grotesque. It was shocking.
Whenever they first started talking about it, I wanted to pause it and be like, call on it, but it would have been a very specific thing.
Right.
So whenever they said he was bloody and he looked caramelized, I was like, oh my god, this describes the thing, this terrible creature that my parents would describe to me that was gonna get me if I was bad. No, this is awful. Mom and Dad calling you out. So as a child, you know, I grew up in the forest. We really didn't have neighbors. Like it would be like I would have to run to a neighbor's house. You could scream and somebody might have heard you, but like it was just trees, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there was always kind of like this eerie feeling anyway. But like when you grow up, like you just kind of are accustomed to that.
Yeah, that shit don't bother me.
But as a kid, I remember being in the back of a pickup truck with my mom and dad. I have no idea why or where we were going. And them telling me about how I needed to be a good child or else Bloody Bones
I've heard of that.
was going to get me. And I was like, oh. So I remember just like passing of trees and this pickup truck and mom and dad being like, Bloody Bones is going to get you if you're not a good girl. And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, if you run off into the woods by yourself, he's going to get you and gobble you up. And I'm like, what the fuck, mom and dad?
Bloody Boner's going to get you.
Stop. And I looked it up and it's like, okay, so I learned about it because it stems from folklore in the South, but it's actually like a British thing
Well, I'll be
from
right
like
down.
a long time ago. But yeah, fucking scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. So this caramelized, gooey, bloody man made me think of that. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. Pretty interesting stuff. Thank you very much for that recommendation,
Yeah.
Gwen. And if you are interested, then you should subscribe to their channel.
Yeah.
What is the Watcher?
The Watcher.
Check them out.
Watcher, yeah.
Got some interesting stuff. Animated stories that could be real, could not be real.
Yeah. Maybe we'll
Yes,
check
it's up
more
to
of those
you
out.
to check those out. Gwen, keep recommending those.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you guys checking this out. That's the end of this. I am happy. My nipples are hard, and we're rolling into the next one.